Hakadosh Boker Or Chanukah Sameach Masechet Nedarim Daf Samech Amud Aleph 62a1. We were right where it starts Tana. Yeah, so we learned in a Braita. The Braita says Ukpelu Rova Mikzoot Maksuot Mutarot Mishum Gezel Upturot Mina Masrot, which means if they came and they already closed up the majority of their knives, so now the figs which are left over in the field are going to be mutarot mishum gezel, which means that there's no isur of gezel, because basically once they put them away, they were already mityaesh. They already gave up hope on these figs. Okay, upturot mina ma'asrot, and it's going to be patur from ma'asrot. What does that mean? Like a perot of efker, because anything which is efker, it's going to be patur from trumot u ma'asrot. Another story: Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda ikleu lehu atra. So Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda, they got to this certain place. Right, right, during the time when they closed away the majority of these knives. Rabbi avaka'achil, so Rabbi was eating the tannin, which were left over, the figs which were left over in the field. Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda lo achil, Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda did not eat right from it. Ata marhon amar lehu. So came the owners of the fields and they said, Amai lo achli rabbanan, why aren't you guys coming and eating? The majority of the knives were put away from the reaping. And still he didn't eat from it. Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda kasavar, because why was he held? Nishum sanyut milta hu dekamar and gavra, because of roa lev, right? That he said it, which means kiilu, you guys already permitted yourselves to come and to eat, so why don't you continue eating? Kiilu. That's what he was trying to say, meaning that be'emet, the owners were not mitkaven to permit it to them. The owners were saying, Kilu, why don't you guys continue eating? What? The rabbis can continue eating. Why? Because he felt that this guy had a bad heart and he didn't really want to give it to them. So he was telling them, Kilu, why are you guys stop not eating? Right? You guys already permitted yourselves to do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Continue doing whatever you want. That's Kilu. Right? That's Kilu. That's what we were saying. So because of that, they did not want to eat. This is the Shita of Rabbi Yosef bar Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? Fine. Another story, Rabbi Chama bar Rabbi Chanina ikla lahu atra. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina came to the city. At the time that the majority of the knives were already put away. The hava ka'achil, right? And he was eating from the figs that were in the field. Yahiv l'shameh, right? He also gave to a shamash. And the shamash lo achil, he didn't eat. Elmaleh, he told him, Echol, eat. So kach Elmaleh Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yosef mishum aviv. It's going to be permitted. So therefore you're allowed to eat. Meaning the shamash, he didn't want to eat. No, you could eat. No problem. Rabbi Tarfon, ashkeche ha'u gavra, izman shekpelu mikzoot tekachil. So Rabbi Tarfon, he once found this person that during the time that it was already pulu mikzoot that he was eating, which means that they already came, they already put away their knives. Ve'achte besaka ve'shakle. So he came in with a bag and he took. Ve'amtie lemishte benahara. And then he came and he wanted, right, to throw it into the... So basically what happened is that when he did this, he wanted to come in, right, in the... Rabbi Tarfon comes, he starts eating from the fruits. All of a sudden somebody came, he threw him inside of a bag, right? And he wanted to throw him into the nahar. He wanted to kill him, right? Because he was basically eating from the fruits. Amarlo, Rabbi Tarfon says, Oilo letarfon shezeh horgo. Woe to Tarfon, because he's going to kill him. Shamau Gavra, the person heard, Shavke ve'arak, he left him and he ran away. Because he knew who was Rabbi Tarfon. When he heard, this is Rabbi Tarfon, he dropped him and he went running, right? So here it says over here like this. He says, so okay, there's a whole question here about that. Was it that he screamed to him? Was he screamed that because he was afraid? Amar Rabbi Yahu mishum Rabbi Chanan ben Gamliel. It says Rabbi Yahu and the name of Rabbi Chanan ben Gamliel. Kol yamav shel oto tzadik haya mitztaer al davar zed. You know, all the days of Rabbi Tarfon, he was mitztaer. And he said, Oili shenishtamashti b'kitrat shel Torah. Whoa, I used the keter of the Torah. Meaning, he felt that the only reason why he was saved was because he was Rabbi Tarfon, because he was a big rabbi. So he felt that he used the keter Torah in order to save himself, and that's why he was upset. That look what happened, that Kilu, that because he used the keter Torah, that was the only reason why he was actually saved. Okay? Anybody that's going to use the keter shel Torah is going to be uprooted from the world. Mikal v'chomer, from the kal v'chomer. Uma bel shetzar Shishtamesh b'kli kodesh. Just like Belshazzar, he used the kli kodesh and asa kli chol that became kli chol. Shneimar says in a pasuk, uva paritzim yichiluhu, that it came paritzim and they desecrated it. Kevin shepartzum, once they came and they breached it, naasu, they became chulin. What does it mean they became chulin? What does that mean they became chulin? It says they were uprooted from the world, which means if somebody comes and he's going to be mishtamesh beketer shotar, what happens? Right? He's nekam min haolam. That's what's written. So now, if Belshazzar, he used the Kli Kodesh, remember that he took all the Kli Kodesh outside, he started using them, kilu, that the Bet HaMikdash was not going to be built again, and therefore he was destroyed. So therefore he comes and he says, so nekam min haolam, that same night, Ketil Belshazzar, he was killed, right? Hishtamesh bekitra shel Torah. So imagine if somebody is going to be mishtamesh bekitra shel Torah, shu chai v'kayam leolam, that is always going to be chai v'kayam, alacha kama v'chama, he's going to be nekam min haolam, which means, if the Kli Kodesh, they were in the Bet HaMikdash. When the Bet HaMikdash is destroyed, there's no Kli Kodesh anymore, right? They could be there, but they're put in Geniza. They could be there, but they could be in, right, Geniza, but you don't use them. It's not Chai V'Kayam La'ad, right? One more time. We just said that when a person comes and they have the Kli Kodesh was put in Geniza. It's not Chai, you cannot use it 24/7. When there's a Bet HaMikdash, you can use the Kelim of the Bet HaMikdash. If there's no Bet HaMikdash, you can't use the Kelim Bet HaMikdash. You might, 100%, they're Kadosh, 100%, you need Geniza. One more time, I repeat. Kadosh, 100% Kadosh. You need Geniza. It is Kadosh. But it's not Chai V'Kayam La'ad. Why? You cannot use it if there's no Bet HaMikdash. Torah, you could use 24/7 for the rest of your life, for every life. So therefore, he says, if a person like Belshazzar, he came and used the Kli Kodesh of the Bet HaMikdash, and he was uprooted, he was killed the same night because he used it. So Kal V'chomer, Halacha Kama V'chama of the Talmud Torah, that a person will be uprooted if a person's going to come and he's going to use the Ketel Shel Torah when he wasn't supposed to use, obviously, the Ketel Shel Torah. And because of that, that's why obviously he was all upset, because he was saying, look, I used the Ketel Shel Torah, and that's why I was saved. So Rabbi Tarfon was upset that he used the Ketel Shel Torah. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Tarfon, and according to Rabbi Tarfon, Kevan dechi achil, right? If right now he was eating, right, the Pulur of Sotava, obviously what happened was, if he was eating, what happened? Obviously, they put away the majority of the knives. So if they put away the majority of the knives, so Amay Tzarei El Gavra, so why did the guy come and want to kill him? At the end of the day, if Rabbi Tarfon acted properly, they already put away the majority of the knives, right? Which means that it's now, there's no Yisur of Gezel, right? Anyone's allowed to come and take it, and there's no problem of ma'asrot. It's patur because it's efker. So then, why did the guy come and he put him in a bag and he tried to throw him into the river? What's going on? So answers the Gemara, mishum da'hu havu gan vele'in ve'kule shata, because to that person they would steal the entire year. Meaning the entire year, people would come to his field and steal. So he came now and he found Rabbi Tarfon. Savar Hainu de Ganvan. He thought Rabbi Tarfon was the Ganav. You understand? Meaning that there was somebody that all year round they were coming and stealing from him. But what happened? He came and he caught the culprit. He thought, this is the guy that's stealing from me. He didn't realize that now this is a limud, that this is already after the time of the time frame that you're allowed to eat. He just thought this is the Ganav. He took the Ganav, he wanted to kill him. Right? Throw him into the fire, into the thing. So says the Gemara, if so, so why was Rabbi Tarfon then? Why was he upset about saving himself with the Kavod Torah? You're allowed to use the Kavod Torah, the Keter Torah, to save yourself, right? He comes and he says, if he was going to be makpid balasadeh only in the eating of the te'enim, so then it would have made sense, right, that he's going to come and use the Keter Torah, because he could have actually said, the balasadeh, listen, this was hefker, it's not the same person, so you're allowed to do that. There's no problem then. Right? Why? Because it's mutar for Tamir Chacham nishtamesh bekitra shel Torah kedei lipater midamim rubim sheno chayav bahem. Meaning, if right now, right, he had to come and to exempt himself from money, which he wasn't chayav in them, he's allowed to use the ketel shel Torah. That's what's brought down in the Ran. You're allowed in order to be mipater midamim rubim that you're not chayav. Meaning, this guy wanted to kilu be mechayev oto mashu. He wanted to obligate him something, which he wasn't obligated into it. So therefore, if he wasn't obligated into it, so what's the problem? What he did was 100% right, Rabbi Tarfon. Okay, and it makes sense, right? So he comes and he says, well, that's the thing. If so, why was Rabbi Tarfon then so upset that he used the Keter Shel Torah? He was permitted to use the Keter Shel Torah in order to save himself from a mistake which was done. Meaning, if the guy was going to kill, murder, right? So the guy's going to murder. It doesn't matter who he's going to murder. He's going to murder this guy. So that's it. He can't use the Keter Shel Torah. The fact that he used Keter Torah, he was using the Keter Torah for something wrong, right? Because Keilu, he was saving himself from death, even though technically the guy was going to murder him anyway, right? He heard it. Okay, now I'm not going to murder him. But if it was a mistake that anybody would have been saved, meaning he would have said, listen, by the way, I'm not the culprit every single time during the year. I'm not the one. It's somebody else that he's the ganab. I'm just the guy that came that mutar to take from that. So that's mutar. So answers the Gemara, Mishum Rabbi Tarfon Ashir Gadol Haba. He was very wealthy. So the meaning, Rabbi Tarfon, why was he so upset? Because he was very wealthy. Since he was so wealthy, he could have exempted himself with money. He could have come and he could have said, you know what, I'm going to pay you $1,000. Just don't kill me. And then the guy would have said, you know what, okay, fine. You know what, he would have calmed down. He would have actually, saved them. So the fact that he could have appeased them with money and not used the Keter Shel Torah, that's why he was upset. Because he could have appeased them with money and he wouldn't have needed to benefit from the Keter Shel Torah. Okay? Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Le'avat Hashem lokecha, right? Lishmoa bekolo uldov kabo. What does it mean that to do limud Torah, you're supposed to love Hashem, your God, you're supposed to listen to his voice, and you're supposed to cling to him? Shelo yomar adam, a person should not come and say, Ekra shikruni chacham. You know what? I'm going to read. I'm going to start learning Torah. You know why? So they should call me a chacham. Or Shnei, I'm going to learn Gemara and Mishnayot, shikruni Rabbi. Ashanen, or I'm going to continue learning Gemara. She is zaken v'sheba yeshiva. You just have to learn from love. At the end, the kavod will come anyway. Shneimar says in the pasuk, "Kashreim el etzveotecha kotvem aluach libecha." What does that mean? Right? Don't have kavanah to learn for your hana'ah, but rather the Torah should be shagul beficha. It should be mamash all in your mouth. And it says and it also says, right, it's chaim machzikim v'tomechem ushar. What does that mean? The Torah in itself is naim v'arevim, and therefore the ones that actually learn it are going to be zocheh to chayim and oshir and everything else. So because of that, a person should only learn for that reason, not because they're going to give him the kavod of whatever it is. Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Tzadok Rabbi Eliezer bar Rabbi Tzadok says, "Aseh devarim l'shem pa'olam." What does that mean? We mekayem the mitzvot for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the Creator, for the one that created you. Okay, and He commanded them. V'daber bahem lishmam, and learn them lishma. What does that mean, lishma? Right? Not for any other reason. Don't make them as like a crown to make yourself haughty. And don't make it like a shovel, right? In order to come and to start right, making like a kli parnasa, right? Kalvachomer, from the kalvachomer. What's the kalvachomer? Just like Belshazzar, that he didn't use B'klei Chodesh only after they already were made into Klei Chol, and therefore they were mutarim tashmish, and still he was ne'ekar min ha'olam. Hamishtamesh b'kitra shel Torah alacha kama v'chama. All the more so if a person is going to come and use the Keter Shel Torah, that he will be uprooted from this world. The Amar Rava says, Sharu le'inish ve'odi nafshe ba'atra de lo yadebe. It's mutar, right, for a person that's a Tamil Chacham to be mefarsem atzmo in a place that people don't know him. Tichtiv, as it says, ve'avdecha yareh et Hashem mineurai. What does that mean, mineurai? What does it mean? It says mineurai, right? What does that mean? Which means that, right, your servant is going to be afraid, right? That's what he says over here. Your servant is going to come and he's going to, is a God-fearing person already from his youth. This is talking about over there, Eliyahu Navi, that he told Ovadiah to tell to Achav, right, to speak to him. And Ovadiah, he was chashash, maybe until now, until he's going to get to him, Achav will think that, he wanted to kill him, this and that. So what happened was, Ovadiah, he did this because of the chashash, that maybe Eliyahu Navi does not know him. So because of that, you see from here that a chacham is allowed to come and to do this, to actually reveal himself, as they say. Okay, fine. So now he comes and he says as follows. מה? כן.
נאורי, ויש לך בבב, גם בסוגריים.
לא, אצלי אין סוגריים.
איך אתה גרסה משופרת?
כן, אתה צודק.
כן.
יש השם מנורה.
No, look in your psukim. Torah or Shalom. No, to look in the pasuk. Torah or. Torah or Shalom. צד שמאל. Look further down. מספר 7.
7. ד'.
שורה שנייה.
בעצם זה כמו
ועבדך ירע את השם מנעורי. חזק מאוד. Okay?
למה פה כתוב מנורה?
לא יודע, זה טעות. אלא קשיא דרבי טרפון. Comes and he says, this is a question from Rabbi Tarfon, which means this is a question against Rabbi Tarfon. Why was Rabbi Tarfon come and he was upset that he revealed himself? Here you see, you're allowed to reveal yourself. A person's allowed to come and reveal himself, right? Right? He's allowed to. There's no problem. It says shari lelinish. It doesn't say you're chayav. Shari means you're permitted to. So therefore, Rabbi Tarfon was permitted to reveal himself. So why was he upset? He was so upset. Huh? Yeah. He comes and he says, right, why are you so upset? So he comes and he answers, the Ashir Gadol have the same thing. At the end of the day, Rabbi Tarfon felt that since he had so much money, he could have bought him out. So why, you're right, permitted, yes, you're permitted, everything that you want, but he felt, why should I use in Keter Shel Torah if I don't need it? If I don't need to use it, you're permitted to do it, yes, you're permitted to use it. But he didn't want to. He had so much money, he might as well just throw away the money. He doesn't want to use the Keter Shel Torah.
But here is nothing to do with it. Here is the Fasem Torah.
Yeah. He says, Rava comes and he asks the stira. What is the stira? K'tiv, it's written, Ve'avdecha yaret Hashem mineurai, u'chtiv yalecha zar ve'lo picha. What does that mean? The contradiction is that it says in one place that your servants, right, your servant was God-fearing from his youth. So it's mashma that a person is allowed to come and to praise himself. U'chtiv, and it's written, yalecha zar ve'lo picha. Somebody else should say it, not you. Meaning you shouldn't come and start saying who you are. Right? You should let other people do that. So answers the Gemara, in a place where they know you, right? So therefore, you shouldn't praise yourself. You shouldn't say anything about yourself because they know who you are. But in a place where they don't know you, that's when you're allowed to come and you're allowed to do that. So Amar Rava comes and he says also, do you know that basically it's permitted for a Tamid Chacham to come and to say that he's a Tamid Chacham, and therefore, right, in order that they're going to come and to give him a precedence, meaning that when they're going to go to Bedin, he would take precedence because it's a mitzvah on the Dayan to be Magdim Adin of a Tamid Chacham before anybody else. So basically, a person could come to judgment. There's a whole line, right? There's a whole line of people waiting to get judged. He comes and he says, I'm a Tamid Chacham. Why? So they're going to judge his case first, and he's allowed to do that. Tichtiv says in a pasuk, Uvne David Kohanim ayu. The children of David were Kohanim. Now, one second. Do you really think that the children of David were Kohanim? David came from Shevet Yehuda. So if he comes from Shevet Yehuda, they weren't Kohanim. So what are you talking about? But rather, Ma Kohen notel berosh, just like the Kohen they take first, so to Tamid Chacham he takes first. So therefore, what happens is that they're allowed to take first because that's what it says over here. Because basically, when they're going to come and take with the Kohen, right, and then afterwards the Kohen comes, he's going to take for himself as a chelik sheyitzeh. So the pasuk is saying that the exact same halacha happens also with the Tamid Chacham.
Okay. Tamid Chacham is little bit more in.
Kohen menalan. So how do we know that we have to be magdim the Kohen? So it says the Ktiv says in the pasuk v'kidashto ki lechem elokecha umakriv kadosh yelach. What does that mean? You have to sanctify him. Why? Ki lechem elokecha umakriv, because he's going to bring the lechem elokecha, the lechem of your God. He's bringing the Tana of Ishmael v'kidashto lechol davar shebikdusha. That is the mitzvah to say doraita v'kidashto. Meaning, you have a chance to have one of these kohanim beside you. You come, you open up the door for them. You let them do right netilat yadayim first. You do like all these different things. You come, what? No. I'm not talking about for Bika Kohanim. Stop. You let them do everything first. But you're coming and you're giving them first. So therefore, that's what the way you're supposed to come. And you are being the Kiddashto, fulfilling Mitzvah Sedoraita to sanctify him. Samach Bet Amubet 62b. Liftoach Rishon. That's to read the first Aliyah in the Torah. Ulvarech Rishon. And to make the first Beracha, Birkat Hamazon. Velitol Manay Yafa Rishon. And to come and to take the first food as well. Meaning that he's the first one, the mamash, that it serves themselves. So the Kohanim are always mamash the first ones. Lechol davar shebikdusha. They come and they take. Okay. Yeah. Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, Shari lei letzurba merabbanan. Yeah. Lemeimar. So it's permitted for a Tamid Chacham to come and to say, Lo yahivna karga. Right, that he's not going to give taxes. Why? Because he's a Tamid Chacham, he's clergy. The Chtiv says in Pasuk, right? Minda belo va'alach la shalit leminmei alehom. What does that mean? A person is not going to be sholet, right, on to place on them, right, on the taxes. The Amar of Yudah says of Yudah, Minda is menat hamelech. This is the taxes like property taxes. Belo, what is belo? Zu kesef gulgolta. This is like taxes per head. Bahalach is arnona. Right? This is going to be like a mas for Sudat HaMelech. That means when the king used to come and go from one place to another places, so therefore they used to have this, which was the Arnona, which is basically traveling from one place to another. So since Tamnei Chachamim are going to be patur from taxes, so therefore he's allowed to say that he's a Tamid Chacham in order to be patur from taxes. The Amar Rava, and Rava also says, it's also permitted to Tamid Chacham to say, Avda denura ana, right? That he's an eved for a komer, right, of the Aesh, right? And therefore he's also lo yahivna karga, and therefore he does not give taxes. My tama, what's the reasoning? Lavruche arya mine kamar. Because what's the reason why he's allowed to say here to do that? He's like modeh avodah kochavim. Avodah kochavim. Says no, he's being mavriach da'ariyeh, which means to exempt yourself from misim. You're doing it not because you're modeh in avodah kochavim. You're just trying to get out of the taxes. So you're getting away the lion from you. Meaning the lions are coming to get you. So in order to save yourself from the lions, you come and you say, no. I am the komen, I'm the head, the clergy of this Avodah Zarah. Not because bemet you were modern Avodah Zarah. You know very well that Avodah Zarah is worthless. But you're just doing it to get rid of the lions. Okay? But Ravashi Avleahu Abba. Ravashi, he had one, it says over here, he had this forest, Zablel Benura, that he sold it to a of the ish, that they come and they actually use it for the avodah zarah. So imagine you have a forest, you come and you sell it to a person that uses the wood and everything for avodah zarah. Elmaleh Ravina Ravashi says Ravina to Ravashi, He says 1 second, right? You're not allowed to be machshil adam ba'avera. So therefore, right now are you allowed to come, right? And you're giving them this, Bnei Noach are not allowed to do avodah zarah. And if Bnei Noach are not allowed to do a zarah, how did you come now and you just, sold it to him, right? This field, this forest, and now he's going to use it for avodah zarah. You're not allowed to. Elmaleh, he told him, Rova etzim lasakanitum. He says, no. The majority of these woods can only be used for asaka, for firewood, and they're not for avodah zarah. So since I could say that the majority was going to be used for a ted, so therefore I was allowed to sell it to him, and there's not going to be a problem of lifnei ver. Lifnei ver is only going to be if you would use it for the isur, and the entire thing is going to be used for isur. Here, I would say that the majority had to be used for firewood. So I could say the entire thing was used for firewood. Afterwards, was he going to do that? That's not my problem. So therefore, I don't have the problem of lifnei iver. The Mishnah on Samech Bet Amud Bet 62b says the Mishnah. A person comes and he says, "Kunam davar ze alai ada katzid," until the katzid. Right? Remember that the katzid is talking about the time that they're going to do the katzira of the chitim in Saudi. So he says, "Ad she'yatchila am liktzor katzir chitin avlo katzir sihorim." So he says this is going to be when they're going to start the wheat and not the barley, because it says over here that the barley is before the wheat. So and another reason is it says because since katzir chitim is more chashuv than katzir sihorim, so when you remember the person says katzir stam, katzir means wheat and not barley. Hakol lefi mekom nidro. Everything is going to depend upon the neder, the place of the neder. Okay, imaya bahem bahar. Right? Ve'imaya babika babika. If it was during, right, let's say for example the river, so therefore it's until the zman katzir of the mountains, right? Or if it's going to be in a valley, so it's going to be in the valley. So it depends where the person is. That's where it's going to be, because it depends where he lives. In the mountain, it's a certain time. In the valley, it's another time. Ada geshamim, until the geshamim. Achiu geshamim. This sounds very familiar, no? Reviyah shniya. Until the reviyah shniya comes, and it's going to fall. So he says, Achi pasku geshamim, Achi etzenu nisan kulo divrei Rabbi Meir. So now when he comes and he says, so one more time, are you listening? So he says, Ada geshamim means Achio geshamim, Achi tered reviyah shniya. Rashba gomer Achi yagia zmana shel reviyah, until the time comes of the reviyah shniya, even though it didn't actually rain. Achi pasku geshamim. If he says until the rain stops, Achi nisan kulo, until the entire month of Nisan leaves. That's the words of Rabbi Meir. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, Achi yavor Pesach, until Pesach finishes, which is also another Gemara that we learned also there, right on Hamud Aleph. The Mishnah do the machloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Hanoder Ada Kaitz. Right? So he comes and he says like this, Hanoder Ada Kaitz Bagalil. Person comes and he says that he's going to make a neder Ada Kaitz Bagalil, and then Yarad La Amakim. Then he went down into the Amakim. So it's going to be prohibited until the kites gets to the Galil. Ada Geshamim, Achiu Geshamim, Achiter Reviyah, until the Reviyah is going to come down, we're talking about, right, when the person comes and he says now ad geshamim, it says or ad shiyu geshamim, it's going to be asur until shetered revia shniya. Rashbag Omer, Rashbag says ad shegaz mana shel revia. Okay, that means until the time of the revia comes, even though it didn't actually rain. So Amar Bizera says Rabbi Zera, machloket is going to be the Amar ad geshamim. Aval Amar ad geshem, Rabbi Zera until the geshem ad zman geshamim come. It means that it's only going to be the time of that means according to everybody, when it says geshamim, what he's trying to say is it's going to be the geshamim. But if it says that geshem, right, it's going to be zman geshem.